In this video, I will teach you how to work with a mixer brush tool in Photoshop. This is a very helpful tool, but at the same time, it can be confusing. So I want to tell you all details and aspects related to this tool, and I want you to understand the basic features and how different option works. Then you get idea how to work and use this tool in the best way based on what you need. Let's start it and you will understand better what I mean. When you work with the mixer brush tool, the default setting is the one that you see right now. So I'm gonna explain different options and toggles in the menu bar. So first thing is that you have the option to choose the brush that you want to work with. So don't be confused. You still have the option to choose different brush tips, but still you're working with a mixer brush tool. From this toggle that it shows the tip of the brush, you can choose the type of brush that you want to work with. It depends, you want it from the default brushes in the Photoshop, or if you imported any brush. So you can choose your brush tip from here, and also you can work with the setting if you want. Keep in your mind you can get different results, for example like the chalky result, or just like a acrylic paint, oil paint, working with pencils. It depends what kind of texture and look you want for your digital painting, and you choose the relevant brush for that one. So that's the first thing. That right now I chose the brush that I want to work with it. The other thing is that this toggle that it indicates the foreground, or just like the brush stroke color for you, by default it is on the load solid colors only. I want you to really pay attention to this part, because you have the option to uncheck the load solid colors only, and it gives you different results, which we'll talk about it later. So there are three different options: load brush, clean brush, and load solid colors only. So leave it the way that it is right now. And these two toggles are basically the same thing: load brush or clean brush. So if I hover over my mouse, it should shows, but doesn't matter even if it doesn't show. The one on the left is here. When I toggle my mouse, it shows. The one on the left, it is load the brush after each stroke, and the other one on the right is clean the brush after each stroke. So loading the color after each stroke, it means if you work with different colors, and if every time that you add a new stroke and you change your color, it added the new color that you chose. If you don't change the color, then it's gonna be the same one. So the clean the brush after each stroke, it means basically if you work with different, for example, colors, the first one that you added, it adds it, and the next time that you add it, even if you change the new change it to a new color, it doesn't add the new color. It works like a water. I want to leave it the default right now and see how it works. So here is the preset option that I don't want you to be confused right now. It's by default is dry heavy load, but also you can change it, you can customize it, or you can see different presets, and basically it affects these options here. Wet determines how wet is your brush. 0, it means there is no mixing of colors, and any color that you add, it just go on top of the each other, and it doesn't mix them together. For example, right now, if I make my brush bigger, and if I add this color, and if I change it to blue, and if I add it, so the wet is 0, you see there is no mixing between these two colors. And if I make it, let's do the Command Z, and if I make the wet to 60% right now, as you can see, the result is different. Why? Because my brush is wet. So let's put it back to 0 and talk about the load. Load is the amount of color that you add to your brush. It means if it is 100%, which is by default, your color never rounds out. So if I started and it's about like 1 stroke, if I don't release my mouse. So if I start painting and not releasing my mouse, so it means like it is 1 stroke, never ends. But if I make it, for example, 11 and make my brush smaller, as you can see, when I do like 1 stroke, it ends at some point. Right now it's 11. If I make it 3%, it rounds out faster. If I make it like 53, you can see it rounds out not as fast as lower numbers. So the other option, the third one, is mix. Mix is not activated until you add a value to wet. So don't be confused. Even if I make my wet to 1%, right now you can see the mix option is activated. Mix is percentage of mixing different colors to each other. So if the value is higher, it means, let me tell you, like if it is, for example, the lower value, like 14%, okay? And if I add a new color, like again, like this light blue to this blue that I have. So if I have it like 14% and mix them together, this is the result that I get in 1 stroke, okay? But if I make it 100%, let's see what will happen. Basically nothing. The thing that you need to pay attention, mix is mainly related to the second stroke. It means the lighter blue that I'm trying to add, 100% is mixing with the darker blue that I already have on the canvas. So basically it blends in it for 100% and I don't get any result. Even if I make, like for example, 90% for mixing, and if I try to draw, I don't see any change. It's like hardly I can see a change. Okay, but let's make the wet to 100% this time. So mix is 90%, wet is 100%, and the result here, smearings the color. Still, the second color, which is like this lighter blue, doesn't affect that much, you see? Because still mixing is really high. It's 90%. The second color is not that visible. But you can see like everything blends better because wet is higher value. So if I go back to this area that I already added a lighter blue color, and if I work with it, now I can see like more visible changes. Why? Because I'm mainly affecting it with the wet, because it's 100%. It means like I already had these two colors on top of each other, and I put my stroke to water and I like make it wet, and it just like mixing these colors more with each other. So the other option is flow. Flow means how fast the color comes up from your brush. If it is 100%, it means like the fastest one, like your, let me change the mixing to just 0 for now. And if I add this blue, you can see like it's pretty fast. And if I make it 11%, it means the color gradually added. And right now you can see definitely the result is more subtle, not that visible, and it is like it gives me better blending. That's the reason I can think about it more like a transparency. So when the flow is lower, it is more blending because the color comes off from the brush slower and like in a more subtle way, and it's like a low transparency of the color. As you can see, just like gradually adding the color. The other one that I want you, don't worry about these options. One really important option that like a toggle that I want you to activate it is sample all layers. So sample all layers basically let you, if you have like multiple layers in your file, it gets the information from different layers. So right now I work in a new layer. If you take a look at my layer panel, not on the background layer. So if I turn off the layer, there is nothing on the background layer. So it doesn't get any information from the background layer if it is off. Okay, so I changed it, and I think by default it is off. When I change it, and when I activate it, pick up the color from the background. So any information the background has, if it is like an image, then like it picks up different like information from different area of the image. But if it is like one solid color, it takes the information from that color. So right now it basically takes the information from the white. That's the reason you could see it blends in this area with the white color. So if I make like sample all layers off, and if I start working, let me make the flow 100 and change the color to this blue, or let's make it yellow. So as you can see, it is just like blending between these two colors, okay? But if I turn off this one and go and like change the background color to, for example, black, and now turn on the layer, go back to the layer that I was working, and now the sample all colors, go back to the mixer brush tool, and the sample all layers is activated right now. So now see what will happen. As you can see, it's just like blending it with the black color, and if I turn off that layer, the background color, you can see like there is a black color here. Why? Because it took the information from the underneath layers. So it's really important option that you can think about it if you need it or not. I recommend you to leave the sample all layers on if you want to get the information from the underneath layer. I personally, in the digital painting, and I think for the assignment that you have, I found this option helpful. Why? Because you can take a photo, you can use like some photos, and you can turn them into painting. So like this example that I have here, in this example, I started to just like create my digital collage, and on top of that one, I started to make the painting. So as you can see, in some areas that I have like the image, but I want to blend like the areas together with the image, make it like a digital painting. It's easier to try to think about like paint something from the scratch, okay? And the point for this activity is to help you to understand how you can do the digital painting and like get help from like other form of digital contents like photographs, and like turn them into painting. Okay, so one thing that you really need to pay attention when you work it for your next project, I want you to work in a multiple layers. Never ever paint just in one layer, because if you start paint on top of your image, then you will lose those information and you can't get back to them. But if you create new layers, new empty transparent layers, you will start to do your painting. And this is important at this stage, to have sample all layers activated, because it gets already information from the underneath layers without touching those layers. So create new layers, work on those layers, have sample all layers activated, and work on your digital painting. If you at some point change your mind, or if you don't like what you did, you can always get rid of that painted area, and you can again start it without like touching the other part of the photo. And also I recommend you to not do all your painting in one layer. Have multiple transparent layers and start it with different like sections. One other helpful option that I tell you right now, I want you to pay attention. So I told you earlier in the video that we will talk about it. I uncheck the load solid colors only, and as you can see here, there is nothing is checked. Okay, and right now what I do, I can sample information from part of the image. Okay, if I hold Alt and sample it, you can see in that toggle for the color, it just like sample area for me, not just one color. And when you start working, as you continue your painting, it samples like different mixing colors together, and you can work with it in a really nice way. So let me, for example, like make it a smaller and sample this area. As you can see here, if I start working, you can see I'm just like sampling this part and work, and like it depends like the setting that you're comfortable with. And for example, I can like change it non-stop and like sample different area. As you can see, I'm just like turning my image into a painting by like working in different area. So I think these are the main aspects of the mixer brush. I want you to pay attention to these details and start playing with that tool and see like what you can do with it. Just change like the tip of your brush and see if you work like with a dry brush, or if you work with I'm not talking about dry here, I'm just like talking about different colors here, like a dry media brush or like wet media brush. See what you can do with different type of brush, because definitely you will have different texture. It's gonna be something similar to oil painting, or you want to have an effect of something like a pastel painting. So first of all, pay attention to the brush that you choose, and then play around with different options here and think what you can do